Hello, hopefully you enjoy this upcoming performance from National eTheatr. If you do, well, all of the artists taking part in this project, writers, directors, and actors, are self-employed and currently unemployed thanks to the coronavirus outbreak here in the UK. And so if you want to support them, you can do so by visiting the links, which will be in the description below the video, and you can donate as little or as much as you want to and feel able to. That money will all be distributed evenly among all the artists taking part. If you can't do that, at the very least, we'd love you to be able to share the videos on your social media accounts, on Facebook, on Twitter, with a friend who might be missing their weekly trip to the theatre. Anyone you think might enjoy it, that is also a massive help. You can follow the project and be alerted to any upcoming videos by following the channel, which you can do so up above, or you can follow us on Twitter on @National eTheatr. Thank you for watching, and sit back now and enjoy the show.
Hello, thank you for tuning in. This hasn't started yet. I've not started yet. This is not a monologue. It'll be very clear when I am an actor rather than a human talking to you. Quick thank you to Barry and everyone at National eTheatr for setting this up. I think it's great to have a creative outlet in times when it feels quite hard to be creative. So thank you as well for supporting it. I'm going to do 2 monologues. Don't worry, they're quite short. I wrote them a long time ago, so my hope is that they are A, still funny, and B, I remember them. I think that's all that can be reasonably expected of me. Okay, so here we go. Here's the first one. And theatre. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Martin was my friend. He was an absolutely terrific actor, a real master of his craft. I knew Olivier, but he did have a tiny head. Sorry. I mean, it was comically small, you know, like a walnut on a building. Have you seen Men in Black? There's a scene where they go into the jeweller's and Tommy Lee Jones shoots the chap's head off. It explodes, it sort of grows back all weird and squiggly, and there's a frame, if you pause it, it's the exact same size. Working with him, as I was on King Lear at the Playhouse, was an absolute delight. Obviously we had to get the crown specially made. I remember he used to complain about the weight of it on his obviously very frail neck. He used to say, what was it he used to say? He said it was like 1,000 daggers stabbing him in the brain. Such a way with words. But he gave a terrific performance as Lear. I mean, the audience, they just couldn't take their eyes off him. You'd have thought all the attention would have given him a big head. But it didn't. As far as I was aware, the surgery was routine, but I have since found out that there are certain risks when it comes to head inflation. Tragedy was that the operation itself was a huge success, but well, the pump got left in overnight, and his head, well, it just... ballooned. You don't need a visual. I did that. After the night shift, the nurse came in and did all she could, but well, we all know what happens to a balloon when you take the air out. If only Martin had survived the operation, he could have achieved theatrical greatness. Othello, Macbeth, Midsummer Murders. I mean, obviously he would have needed more than the operation because he had quite hairy fingernails. So he would have needed a medical manicure. His bones had begun to sort of melt due to his blood becoming so violently acidic on account of his addiction to malt vinegar, which when he drank used to congeal in his eye sockets, making him leak these bubbling black tears which would sort of scorch his skin, and his toes had disintegrated, so he could barely control which direction he was moving in. He was just hobbling about on two heavily bruised stumps. His ears had exploded. He was just vomiting all the time. His legs were covered in scales. And now I think about it, it was less like I was directing a man and more like I was directing a grub. I'll just leave you with his favourite song. Is there a please? CD player? Okay. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful, it's true. Saw your face in a crowded place, and I don't know what to do, 'cause I'll never be with you. Thank you very much. Enjoy the bollards. Thank you. That's the first one. I assume you're clapping in front of your computer. I first did that a long time ago at an open mic night in South London, and the way it worked was your name got sort of drawn out of a hat, and really, like, tragically, I'm not stripping, by the way. I'm not stripping, just changing costume. But yeah, really tragically, a comedian who gigged there a lot had recently died. And so the compere opened with this like really like heartwarming kind of memorial to him, and sort of dedicated the night to him. And then, you know, there were like 20 people on that night. It could have been anyone. And then he was like, anyway, time for some comedy. Please welcome to the stage, Richard Soames. And I came on, and all I had prepared was that eulogy monologue. So it didn't go well. In fact, given the amount of audience feedback I'm getting right now, it felt like this, you know, stone cold silence. But I'm sure you're being very vocal at home, so I appreciate that. This is the next monologue. Thank you. Theatre. Oh, yeah. I lost a bet. I guess I was just trying too hard, you know. I usually end up in these sort of hilarious shenanigans along with my mate Freddie. Like a couple of years back, Freddie bet me that I couldn't cross the channel in an ice cream van. Like, retrospectively, obviously, I should have used the Channel Tunnel or taken a ferry. Rather than just relying on the propulsion gained from accelerating off a pier. Tragic thing about that was that 13 children jumped in after me because I couldn't find the off button for the ice cream jingle. It's a sort of Pied Piper of Hampden effect. And then after that, Freddie bet me I couldn't eat 3 crackers in a minute. I lost that too, but how I ended up in the channel again, I've got no idea. Anyway, this time we were down a pub, right? And naturally we got into the topic of pencils, you know, standard. And I was harping on about graphite densities. And then he said, hey, I bet you couldn't sharpen all the pencils in my house. And I meant to say, like, probably not. But I'd actually consumed quite a lot of seawater in the previous 48 hours, so I was feeling a bit delirious, and I said, sod that, I bet I can sharpen all the pencils in the world. Now, obviously, most people would have taken that as a figure of speech, or, you know, laughed it off as a ridiculous flight of fancy, but Well, Freddie's got quite a pedantic sense of humour, and I was on double or quits as it was, so now I'm sharpening all the pencils in the world. Now, obviously, that presents a number of logistical challenges, but I'm quite a proud man, so I've tried to overcome most of them. Firstly, the cost of trying to purchase all of the pencils in the world has been quite substantial. I have sold my house, my car and my cats, and I've used the money to buy 2.5 billion pencils, which is actually a surprisingly good deal because I got a great deal for buying in bulk. But it's still not all the pencils in the world. Secondly, I have to round up all of the blunt pencils in the world. I have broken into precisely 243 UK primary schools, and I have been arrested precisely 244 times. One of them times was for sinking an ice cream van, to be fair. And while 8-year-olds up and down the country kind of struggle on without their Hello Kitty stationery or whatever, I've found that the jail time has not been worth the amount of pencils I have accumulated in that time. Third thing is that pencils are being constantly produced to meet demand. So obviously the issue there is that I am purchasing all of the pencils and thus justifying the creation of more pencils. It's a sort of catch-22 cycle, so that's not ideal. My only other option is to purchase all of the pencil companies in the world and cease their production myself, which I would have done, but Freddie saw that move coming and bought a controlling stake in each one already. This whole thing has left us both quite out of pocket, to be honest. But the knowledge that Freddie is struggling a bit is of really no consolation when you consider that you've lost your house, your car, your cats, and you're in and out of hospital due to repetitive strain injury to your wrist, which you try to explain, but it just sounds, you know, in all honesty, the amount of time, money and effort that I have spent on acquiring only a small amount of my target number of pencils has already far exceeded the initial wager of £10.50. So here I am, knee deep in brine just off the coast of Dover. 2.5 million pencils. Why don't I just stop, you know? Why don't I just stop doing this? But then you think about it and you're like, I've lost my house, I've lost my car, I've lost my cats. I'm in and out of hospital due to repetitive strain injury to my wrist, which you're trying to explain. Pencils are all I've got left. I might as well sharpen them. Thank you very much. That was the end. You've been. I assume you've been a lovely audience. Thank you very much for tuning in. Bye.